Told that we have Nelson Kuria. Like I told you, he's the chairperson of the National Co-operatives Reforms Task Force. And Nelson, if you can hear me, tell us about the key priorities you're working into as you seek to review how SACCOs have been working 10 years into the new constitution.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, and thank you very much for this great opportunity to articulate issues pertaining to cooperative reforms and development. And as you are well aware, the cooperative sector and the cooperative movement in this nation is one of the most important and critical vehicles of delivering socio-economic development. This is an area where the cooperatives have given a true account of themselves since independence, and many millions of Kenyans' lives have actually been transformed through cooperatives because they have an empowering capability that cannot be matched by any other sector. And let me say that at the very outset, the cooperative policy is the very basis of what happens in the development of the cooperative sector. This is where legislation starts, because legislation has to be aligned to cooperative policy and the situation of overall development in the cooperative movement. And the last time we had a review of the cooperative policy was way back in 1997. That is the policy that ushered in the aspect of liberalization in the economy and how cooperatives would fit in the the liberalized environment. Since then, it's about 23 years now, and there has been no review of that policy. And you can imagine from 1997 to date, there has been tremendous change in the environment, both economically and also socially. And therefore, it cannot be gainsaid the importance of having a reviewed cooperative policy at this time, particularly taking cognizance of what has changed in the environment. One, we were operating under the UN goals that were there that time. They were called the Millennium Development Goals that ended in 2015. Now we are talking about the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 of them. When we look at the situation of government, we are talking about the Constitution 2010 coming into place, and that also brought in major changes in terms of how various sectors operate within the national government, and now the devolved government within the counties. So there has been a major shift and transformation in terms of how this sector is placed, yet it has not changed in tandem with the changes in the environment. And therefore, it is important that this new policy has come into place, taking into account these changes so that it will be aligned with these changes, so that the cooperative movement can be able to deliver the very best in terms of its contribution on the side of socio or economic development in the country. In fact, the theme of this new policy is about bringing about social and economic transformation in our country. So there are critical areas that need to be addressed within these reforms. One, the legislation, the regulatory framework, and also the institutional framework within which that legislation and the regulatory framework work within.
Obviously, talking about...
Sorry?
Nelson, I'm saying that looking at, of course, 10 years into the Constitution, you're saying that the sector has evolved, but there are no matching legislation. That's why you've been established to look into that. Would you say that there are specific gaps that because yes, the county governments are in charge of this. It's actually a county function, but then again, the legislation is not allowing. Are there specific instances that you would cite and say things are the way they are because of that gap?
Well, there is need to understand one clear fact that while cooperatives is a devolved function, we are also talking about cooperatives being national. We have cooperatives that are national in nature that operate beyond one or two counties. And therefore, even as we devolved and there is, we say cooperatives are a devolved function, there is that lack of harmony and a lack of proper appropriate mechanism that caters for this kind of national cooperatives that transcend a number of counties. There are those even what we used to call national cooperative organizations, and which are another layer, like a secondary type of cooperative, and therefore we cannot just fit in the cooperatives under the under the county government. There is need to understand that there are those that cannot even be regulated just within one county because they transcend many counties, and indeed some of them are actually national in nature and even in terms of their operations. Right. So there is that need for that harmonization, that even where the county governments have a role in terms of cooperatives, the cooperatives are also international in nature, right, and they need to coalesce somewhere within an apex, so that we need to understand those structures of the cooperative movement at the international level, at the national level, and at the county government level. And therefore, that there is need to come up with a mechanism to harmonize and seal such kind of gaps for better regulation, for better performance and sustainability of the cooperative movement. All right.